Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the Endo channel. To any new souls out there watching, my name is Brittany Denson. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so happy that you're here. Please consider subscribing to help support my channel. Today we are taking a glance back to April, right before my first of two back-to-back surgeries with endometriosis expert, Dr. Dulemba. As some of you already know, I have had 5 surgeries now for my endometriosis. The 2 most recent back-to-back surgeries were the first performed by a true endo expert. My first surgery diagnosing me was ablation, where the endo is burned off. I was never given an option or direction if this would be the best approach for the disease. I learned later there are other options. Excision is the best surgical approach simply because of the reoccurrence rate. It's much lower. I then go through 2 additional excision surgeries with 2 different doctors. Throughout my journey, I have learned the do's, the don'ts, how to spot a doctor that truly doesn't have the level of knowledge to be directing or much less cutting on a patient. Through self-journey experience. It has been a living hell. All leading me to a true endo expert, Dr. Dulemba. I've had my eye on Dulemba for quite some time before I reached out for a consultation, simply because his practice, it doesn't accept insurance any longer. Deep down, I didn't want to even call to get a quote on yet another surgery, another chunk of financials going toward a disease that was robbing myself, my family on every physical and mental front. I was about to pay in full, out of pocket for yet another. The thought was mentally devastating. Just like I've done between all my surgeries, I continued to build my armor around me, and I pushed on with the pain until I'm physically, mentally, and spiritually unable to push anymore. If you haven't already, check out my sit-down consultation with Dr. Dulemba in Denton, Texas. Why? Simply because this was the first time ever in the 19 years of me dealing with this disease that I feel as though I was in the right place, that the team surrounding me were there to treat endometriosis. They knew more than knowing of it. That was immediately obvious. And I was even more blown away when Dr. Dulemba showcased how he interacted with his patients, every single one of them, educating them on the disease, the options out there. He blocks off 2 to 3 hours in efforts to do this. The link to my consultation is below. Check it out if you haven't already. Out of pocket, no insurance accepted? Okay, so here's how it works. So if you have insurance, the hospital will bill it. Dulemba's team charges $330 for the first sit-down consultation, $550 for the sonogram, and a flat surgery fee for $5,500. If the patient decides to do the second look approach like I did, it's an additional $500. This approach is to go in at the end of the body's healing process and peek inside to unstick anything that started to adhere from excision 5 days prior. Now this approach, it takes chances of no adhesions forming up to 70%. Flashing back to the day of surgery, I was in and out of this haze. I feel as it's a constant fight to be in the now. Being in pain daily, one can start to cope with disconnecting from reality, especially for me when beyond the end of my rope and surgery is in sight. If surgery is in sight, over the years for me, that has meant I was near death, so to speak, honestly. Surgery has always been the last option I have wanted, and then I find myself in desperation for help. I push back past my limits. I blow my own mind sometimes, y'all. For me, surgery with the right doctor was necessary, coupled with self-growth to get to the root of the issues that can also be fueling my declines. Surgery is simply one of many tools I'm using to heal me of this nightmare. Would I be in a better position if the very first surgery was done by Dr. Dulemba or another expert? No question in my mind, but this is how it unfolded for me, and I continue to push on sharing my journey and efforts to eliminate girls, women having to walk the same self-teaching path I and millions of other girls, women have done, are doing. Surgery numero uno. I was nervous. It was hard to believe I was facing yet another surgery, but I was in brilliant hands. I went into surgery knowing via Dulemba's expert team and sonogram reading that my intestines were adhered together and my remaining right ovary was completely adhered to my uterus. New areas Endo was excised from: intestines, rectum, on both sides of lower back ligaments. He actually had to cut the ligaments and he sewed them into the vagina. Yeah, I can't believe I said that either. It's true though. And diaphragm, right side this time. Adhesions were removed from my bladder, intestines, and other places throughout. The uterus and the remaining right ovary were removed due to adhesions, and my uterus was diagnosed with adenomyosis. Healing. Ensure you create a space that fully allows your body to process and release the trauma from surgery. This is something I've recently learned in hindsight and through some amazing souls surrounding me. I cannot wait to share more on this self-healing journey. Stay tuned for more on that. 5 days of rest before my second surgery. The second look. I must say, this was the first surgery I woke up to a completely, and I mean a completely flat stomach. It was the most bizarre thing. I mean, I know Dr. Dulemba is a bad with his passion, but I just had surgery. It was the best I had ever felt after a surgery. Then I had the second look. I'm not gonna lie, what seemed too good to be true was. However, I know what my family and I have endured for these 19 years in search of answers to a better quality of life. Never had a doctor offer me a way out of this vicious cycle of adhesions forming immediately after surgery. Why? Could back-to-back laparoscopic procedures be considered extreme? I mean, I see how it can seem extreme, but what seems worse? Women losing organs due to adhesions or a second look approach? Second look report. Dulemba was able to detach a few different areas that had already stuck from the work performed in the first surgery via robotic excision. 70% chance adhesions will not form now. If you've ever gone years with your intestines and or other organs adhered together, you'd probably want to take those odds too, even if it meant deepening your strength even further than you thought possible. Again, prep yourself mentally. Never stop speaking life over you and reminding yourself to take it moment to moment if needed. Food was a huge turnoff, y'all, and it took a lot of effort to get fuel in me, but I made it happen the best I could, and I found that drinking protein shakes, it worked well when solid foods were just too much. Pathology results. Dr. Dulemba removed the only stitches that my body would not dissolve from my belly button. First came the eye-opening pathology results. Did you know Dr. Dulemba, until just recently this past year, is the only endo expert taking one tiny extra step post-excision of endo, ordering pathology to check the hormone receptors on each specimen removed, in efforts to eliminate treating each woman's unique case blindly. Most doctors believe endometriosis is driven by estrogen alone, prescribing birth control in efforts to shut it down. But what if I told you this extra step could tell you if your case is more estrogen or progesterone driven, directing you to proper treatment? Birth control shutting down estrogen is not the only answer, simply because endometriosis can also be driven by progesterone. My test results told me that my case is predominantly progesterone driven, meaning birth control shutting down estrogen, which every doctor pushed whenever I was younger, is not what I needed. Recovery. Hardest recovery to date, but strongest I have felt coming out of recovery. I was back in the gym doing light work, waking up the muscles, about 6 weeks after surgery. Everyone is different. I was in the gym up until about 3 weeks before surgery, so my body was very much ready by 6 weeks. But only you and your body are going to know, so silence the outside noise and listen deeply. Since I've been continuing my self-love, self-healing journey, I have been focusing on healing parts of my soul that hinder my body ridding itself completely of certain symptoms. So much to come. If you are not already following me on Facebook and Instagram, come and find me and say hey when you do. If you liked this video, help support my channel and the Endo community by tapping that thumbs up. And leave a comment below letting us know where you're tuning in from. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a bit with Britt. We'll see you next time.